A floating small town for 8,000 people, with building costs totaling 1.5 billion euros.
Müssen wir ein paar Kreuzfahrten verkaufen, damit wir das wieder zurückkriegen.
On board, it's pure luxury for the super rich. The personal butler or royal genie looks after the well-being of the suite's guests.
The genie factor, I think, it's that trust that you build between your guest and yourself.
The 362-meter-long Colossus is propelled by 131,000 horsepower. In the belly of the ship, 6 giant diesel engines run around the clock.
If we talk about a lot of horses, I would say they are very hungry horses.
6,300 guests have to be cared for. The kitchen produces 30,000 meals every day.
The pressure is on, so we have to make sure we have the right food on the plates.
Barcelona Harbor. The harmony of the seas awaits its new guests. Touring with 6,300 passengers and 10,000 suitcases. The round trip through the western Mediterranean Sea lasts for 7 days. Hectic loading and a thrill of anticipation on Deck 5. This is the Royal Promenade, known as the beating heart of the ship. A shopping mall covering around 150 meters of bars, restaurants, and shops. Deputy Hotel Director Giuseppe Campagna supervises the guests' check-in.
Today actually is a very busy day. We have about 6,200 people leaving the ship in the morning, and then right after about 10:15, 10:30, we have 6,000 to 6,300 people coming on board.
For their flagship, the shipping company relies on high-tech. Upon request, each guest can buy a WOW band for €5.
So these are very easy things to keep always with them. You know, they just put it in their wrist like a watch, and they can go to a bar and buy a drink, and then pay just by tapping the band in the deposit reader that we have in all venues, bars, restaurants, if you want to buy a tour.
The newest ship in the fleet has super fast satellite internet coverage. Passengers and crew, totaling over 8,000 people, can surf the web at the same time. There are also computer monitors around the ship to help passengers find their way.
One of the features that helps with this is our digital signs around the ship and touch screens that we have around the ship are called wayfinders. So with these wayfinders, which are located in every lobby areas, forward and aft of the ship, where the elevator lands, guests can just go and look for their stateroom, an example.
A few levels below, the loading of cargo is underway. In Barcelona, the ship receives tons of fresh groceries. 8,000 kilos of beef, 7,000 kilos of chicken, and 6,000 kilos of pork for every week. The head of kitchen, Franz Blum, has to cater for over 8,000 people every day.
It really is such a massive ship. It's 350 meters long. That certainly isn't anything to sniff at, and you can really see this main artery runs the whole length of the ship. So that's the heart of the ship where everything happens. All of the deliveries come through here. This is more or less the ship's lifeline. We have over 2,000 employees. Within the fleet, we have ships with 2,000 guests. In relation to the ship, this is of course very impressive.
Die relation zu den Schiff ist natürlich schon beeindruckend.
The 46-year-old checks the storeroom. If the deliveries aren't top quality, then Bloom sends them back, and the contractors will stop receiving orders. With the amounts that are needed on board, the head of kitchen can't simply take trips to the market on the fly. He needs 12,000 kilos of just melons alone every week.
For example, the bananas. There are 3 different stages, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. The bananas come in different stages, so there are ripe ones that are ready to eat. Then we have those that need a bit more time and those that cannot be eaten at the moment. By the end of the cruise, after 7 days, those are ready to eat.
Franz Blum has been working at sea for 7 years. But even for him, the Harmony is a new challenge, especially with regard to its logistics.
This is what happens with the chefs. The station heads with the red scarves place their orders a day ahead of time. They tell us what they need, and we send the order down to provisions where everything gets prepared. They will have everything ready in cartons for the chefs. They then take it up to the sanitation room, where everything is washed and put into plastic containers to go up to the kitchen. So we don't take any of these cartons to the kitchen at all.
The fresh produce comes from local producers in Europe. The frozen goods are delivered from the US.
Containers are delivered every week, so if you have 20 containers and you make a mistake with each container, that means 20 mistakes every week. This needs to be right again within 2 months, so you have to pay close attention when placing orders.
Franz Blum works 4 months in a row, after which he gets 2 months off. He and all other crew members work a 7-day week. The Mediterranean Sea cruise begins. All 2,744 cabins are occupied. The ship is fully booked. Captain Gus Anderson commands the 227,000 gross registered tonnage Colossus. He has 6 diesel engines with 131,000 horsepower at his disposal. As captain, he can really put his foot down, reaching a top speed of about 45 kilometers per hour. The 3 so-called azipods drive the ship forward. These are propulsion nacelles, which are attached under the hull of the ship.
Here are the controls for the 3 azipods. When we are at sea, as we are now, we have 20 megawatts on each of the azipod. When we do the maneuver, we have 10 megawatts. And of course, we can use them in combination, synchronized, or we can use them separate. So each of these are just the controls, obviously, but I can turn them in any direction, and then the motor, the propeller, is giving the force in the direction where I want it.
Flashback. In March 2016, the stainless steel propellers were attached to the propulsion nacelle. Each propeller has a diameter of over 6 meters and weighs around 26 metric tons. Later, a crane connected the azipods to the hull, accurate to a millimeter, and the azipods were then tested. The mega cruise liner was built in the STX shipyard in France. Chief Engineer Harry Kulmajärvi is responsible for observing the engine room and the azipods. The Finn commands the ship's control room, its technological heart. All areas of the mega cruise liner can be supervised from here. All error reports are also sent here. If a fire were to break out somewhere, sensors would immediately set off an alarm. Additionally, sensitive areas like the engine room are monitored with cameras.
Engine control room is manned 24/7. We have 3 dedicated second engineers who are rotating in 4-hour watches. They have 3 people downstairs patrolling all the time in the machinery spaces and reporting him if there is something unusual, leakages, etc.
The control room is also in constant contact with the bridge. An emergency maneuver is regularly carried out. The on-duty officers have to be able to take over control of the azipods in just a few seconds, because in an emergency, the ship needs to be controlled from down here. During the exercise, a technician calls in from the engine room.
Okay, I will let you. We have an emergency telegram. So dead slow, half or full speed. If there is something wrong with their speed acceleration, so we can run the ship from here, but according their commands. We have so-called dynamic position system. And there is a button in the bridge. You press it twice, and ship will stay in the position with the archipods and the boat thrusters. If ship moves from the set point 1 meter, the satellite is bringing it back.
On this giant ship, the vacationers don't sense the waves below or the fact that the Harmony is gliding over the sea at around 40 kilometers per hour. The vacationers surf on artificial waves, fly on zip lines over the ship, play table tennis, or go rock climbing. Many different types of sports facilities are available on the 66,000 square meter sports deck. Thanks to Helen Francis and her colleagues, the vacationers are never bored.
So now we're on the Harmony of the Seas sports deck, where guests have lots to choose from. So you have the zip line, you have the flow rider, you have our newest attraction, the Abyss slide. You also can play on the sports court, basketball, volleyball. We've got competitions with the mini golf and table tennis. So there's so much on here as well. We also have our rock wall on deck 7, 2 on each side of the ship that guests can choose from. So there's lots here to choose from.
The passengers don't pay anything extra for the use of the sports facilities. Helen has been contracted by Royal Caribbean for the last 2 years. After completing her studies, the 25-year-old was looking for a job that combined sports and traveling.
So for sports staff, we work on the ship for 7 months, and then we have 2 months vacation, and it's up to us if we want to repeat that. It's not for everyone. For some, it's quite a long time from home, but for others, it's a great time to travel, see the world, and meet new people. And we do work every day, so before you know it, your 7 months is up. You're going home, and then you're having a nice, relaxing vacation, and then you're back doing the same thing, meeting different people and going different places.
Back to Chief Engineer Harry Kulmajärvi. As part of his inspection round, he checks on the engines that turn the giant propulsion nacelles in the desired direction. The Azipods themselves are driven with the energy from the generators, which are powered by the diesel engines.
So this is the one of the propulsion units, where the Azipod itself is down in the water, below here with big electrical motor, 18.8 megawatt. Here what we can see is the cooling unit. It needs a lot of cooling to remove all the heat out from the Azipod. And then 4 steering motors, where we can rotate the Azipod 360 degrees, which direction is needed for the maneuvering or steering. So if we want to stop the ship from the full speed, we can turn around the boats and ship will stop in 5 lengths of the ship. Ship is 370 meters, 5 times that, and ship is fully stopped.
The chief engineer is also responsible for the diesel generators. Since the 16-cylinder engines are around 30 meters long and 15 meters high, the engine room is stretched over several stories.
This is the well-cylinder engine, where the piston diameter is 46 centimeter, stroke is 58 centimeter, which makes a displacement of 1 cylinder close to 100 liter. The power of the whole engine is 17,000 horsepower. If we talk about a lot of horses, I would say they are very hungry horses. Entire trip from Barcelona back to Barcelona, we are burning 900,000 kilos of fuel.
The giant ship offers 6 different pool landscapes and 18 whirlpools. On deck 18, the new highlights are the water slides called Supercell, Typhoon, and Cyclone. As a group, they are cleverly named Perfect Storm. Helen Francis monitors the entrance to the slide.
We need to understand what are the busy times and what are the less busy times. So at the moment we're clicking how many people, so we've got a record, so we know how many people will come in, so we can make sure that we're open and we've got enough staff.
Only children taller than 98 centimeters are allowed on the slides. These safety regulations are strictly adhered to. Helen even offers tips on how to best go down the slides. The 25-year-old changes her post several times a day, making the job more varied. She has a special connection with her colleagues.
On all ships, everyone's leaving and coming at different times. So you're making friends and essentially family, always meeting new people, and it's so great. Copy. The good thing about Harmony of the Seas is that we all come together at the same time, and a lot of us are going to leave together at the same time. So as soon as we knew each other, after a week, we were one family.
On the cruise liner, certain areas are strictly reserved for VIP passengers. Only suite guests are allowed in this restaurant. These guests also have access to a personal butler. Reino Varkevisar is the royal genie on board.
Can I make a reservation for the Royal Loft Suite? 2 people for tonight, 8 o'clock, please.
2 people tonight at 8 o'clock.
Wonderful. For our suite guests, it's especially when they want to get away from the hustle and bustle from the ship and they would just like to enjoy a quiet meal. Of course, with the concierge lounge, in the afternoons we serve lovely cocktails and canapes from 5 until 8:30. Also for the guests with this amazing view, a great area to come and relax.
In the closed-off area for the VIP guests, everything is more lavish. The halls are wider. The facilities are more upscale.
At the moment we are on deck 17. This is where our Royal Loft Suites are on board the Harmony of the Seas. It's a private area just for the suite to stay here, so there is no traffic of people not living on this deck. This is exclusively only for the suite guests.
This 2-story loft suite is roughly 98 square meters in size, and for 2 people it costs about 15,000 euros per week.
Good morning.
Morning, Reno.
Rowan, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. How's the guests doing?
Oh, they're fabulous. They're like, wow.
Really?
It's a great room.
Oh, fantastic. They told me they were going to go to the beach. Listen, do me a favor. I need you to make sure that the guest gets the SAR class amenity list from our side. So please just leave it on their desk for them. Is there anything else that I need to know, or are they good?
Yeah, they're fine. They're pretty much happy.
Wonderful.
Happy with the room, and I will definitely give this for them.
We need to always anticipate the needs of the guests. It's all about surprise and delight. So we get a good idea of what our guests favor, what they like to do, and we actually go over and above that, and we suggest other things that they would probably not even have thought of.
The suite also offers a 20 square meter balcony.
Good morning, dear. How are you? I'm good, good. It's a lovely day out there today.
In the meantime, the Harmony has made a stop in Marseille.
The times have changed. People, there is a need for a more expensive, a bigger suite that comes with different amenities. And we need to keep in mind, even though that we are on a ship, we would like to keep ourselves in line with what the rest of hotels on land has to offer for their guests, and make it a special occasion and a special experience so that they would come back.
Flashback. In February 2016, the ship was still a giant construction site. More than 3,000 workers were working feverishly to finish the mega cruise liner at the shipyard in the French city of Saint-Nazaire. In numbers, the workers laid 2,500 kilometers of cable, 50,000 square meters of carpet, and used around 300 metric tons of paint. Vice President Raimund Scheider oversees the work on behalf of the shipping company. However, the ship still belongs to the shipyard. At this point, the Austrian native, together with his colleagues, are just guests on board.
Until a week ago, you were only able to see scaffolding and covers, and in the meantime, that is all gone.
A new design feature that even thrills a cruise ship pro.
The different sections move individually, and the face and the head turn in different directions every 15 minutes. In the meantime, the rings turn, and there's again a whole different sculpture, which can be appreciated 24 hours a day.
It took almost 3 years to build the biggest cruise ship in the world, and this is reflected in its price tag.
$1.5 billion, US dollars. That's what such a ship costs on average. So yes, we have to sell a few cruises to make that back.
Peter Roy is the environmental officer on board. He assures compliance with all legal requirements. The giant ship uses as much energy as a small town in order to produce, among other things, 2.1 million liters of drinking water every day.
This is a microfiltration unit, and right now, since we haven't left port yet, it's not operating. but this is 100 microns in diameter, so very fine filter that we have. And let's go take a look at our UV disinfection unit.
All wastewater is treated on board, and only clean water is pumped back into the sea.
Inside we have an array of UV bulbs, and like everything on the ship, we have double capacity. In case the system shuts down or there's a breakage, we can switch over to another unit. And our final system is ultraviolet light disinfection. So again, we don't use any harmful chemicals like chlorine to sterilize the waste. It's UV light, very high energy light. And what comes out looks like drinking water.
The Harmony has a new hull design and a new type of bubble system, a compressor that generates a carpet of microbubbles so that the ship glides smoothly across the sea.
So that actually gives us a boost of about 3% on fuel saving. Now 3% doesn't sound like a huge amount, but that over the course of a year, that will translate into millions of dollars of saving and a big reduction in carbon emissions.
This ship is not meant to be just another form of transportation. Rather, it's supposed to be a vacation spot with a built-in amusement park. Its enormous width of 66 meters inspired the designers to create a green oasis on board, with 20,000 plants and dozens of trees. The Harmony's revolutionary design allows for a giant green space in the open-air courtyard between the apartment blocks, known as Central Park, a unique experience for the vacationers. It's also a unique risk for the shipping company. With the ship's constant changes between varying climates, Chief Gardener Thomas Brownlee was initially skeptical that a park at sea could really work.
George, so we need to lift this module out and check underneath to see if the drain is clogged. So if you want to yank that out for me?
Okay.
So in Central Park, as I mentioned, everything here is real. And from a distance, it looks like what you would see at your home, plants and soil. So this module can only go here. It won't fit anywhere else in the park. So it is just like a jigsaw puzzle.
A fully automated irrigation system is used several times a day. On particularly hot days, the plants are also watered by hand in order to keep them cool.
If the plants want to survive, they have to learn how to adapt. And some will and some won't. And over the years, we've figured out what plants will do very well and what plants just won't.
The sound of chirping birds in the park is merely a recording. However, on occasion, real birds do visit the park. And Thomas Brownlee once hosted a pink flamingo in the Caribbean.
Yeah, I mean, the strangest thing that I've found pest in my plants was New Year's Eve on the ship is always a big party. And January 1st, early in the morning when we all came out to work, I found a couple in the bushes, deep in the bushes. She was in a beautiful evening gown and he was in the tuxedo, and they were just out. And when I finally got them to wake up, they had no idea they were on a ship, and they had a little too much party the night before, and we eventually got them out of my bushes.
There are several specialty restaurants in Central Park, with prices ranging between 40 and 60 euros per head. Even more expensive are the high-end stores. Chief Butler Reino Varkevieser is on a shopping spree.
Right now I'm picking up a gift for our Royal Loft Suite guest. It's his wife's birthday tonight, and he asked me to get something special. Rashid, how are you?
Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, thank you very much. Shall we go in and show me?
Sure, please.
Thank you.
Wealthy customers are able to splurge on board just as easily as if they were in a luxury mall in Milan or Monaco.
Thank you, Rashid. So I believe you have a package for me for the Royal Suite.
Yes, sir. This beautiful piece. This is one of the